according to the change in metabolism, did you check for the partial pressure in oxygen? Because most likely the international partial pressure that you could encounter in a physiological condition is not the one with 20% of oxygen that you are going to find in the culture embryos.
Cattle embryos will not grow in 20% oxygen. Any studies that are ever published in cattle embryos, including our work, has been carried out in physiological 5% oxygen. Our human embryo culture is carried out in 6% oxygen. So we do control for oxygen concentration. Changing the oxygen tension, so culturing in 20% oxygen, does have a profound impact on the metabolism. It has a profound impact on many aspects of development. But all of our work has been carried out on 5%.
Thank you very much for this excellent talk. My question is, as you know, IVF condition, it's still suboptimal today.
Yes.
My question is, as you interestingly relate the ideal metabolism profile of a human embryo, my question is, how you did integrate a stress factor in order to be sure this, for example, this metabolism profile is the ideal and for which you compare for other. You understand what I mean? It's because if there is embryo stress and
Absolutely.
should alter metabolism profile, etc., etc.
If I understand the question, you're asking how we account for the fact that we are stressing the embryo. Right. Okay. We work with stressed embryos. We all do. We transfer stressed embryos in clinic because an embryo doesn't really, an embryo is able to adapt to the in vitro environment. All we can do is measure the embryo in the environment in which we culture it. We try and minimize stress. We try and reduce stress. But we have to accept that there is some stress. We can continue to strive to reduce that. But arguably, an embryo in an imperfect oviduct is also going to be stressed. What is a perfect oviduct? We know that being overweight and obese alters the physiology of the follicle, and that has negative impacts. We know that smoking probably changes the physiology of the oviduct. So embryos are stressed. We have to work with those stressed embryos to look at comparing two stressed embryos, which is the most likely to give a pregnancy, for example, in a biomarker, if we're studying biomarkers, to look at how metabolism may be able to mitigate stress. But it's a caveat to all the work that we do. We work with stressed, imperfect, and from a research point of view, poor quality embryos, because the good embryos will have been transferred, hopefully, to give a couple a pregnancy. Okay.
You didn't talk about one potential buffering activity in the cell, in the embryo, that is probably autophagy. So you didn't mention autophagy in this. No. Because it's also a way to cells also answer to or react to stress, activating autophagy. Absolutely. And my question was, do you know whether this is more present in embryo in vitro than in vivo, and whether this you already challenge the autophagy pathway at max? And
that's an excellent question, and it's a question that I can't answer directly. We do have a grant in at the moment to look at autophagy in the embryo, but we have done metabolic studies of stem cells, mesenchymal stem cells, and we can see that when we change the metabolism through a factor-free reprogramming approach, we do initiate the autophagy response. But prior to that, we see a metabolic shift. We published that paper just last month. I'm quite happy to show you that data, maybe beyond this talk, but we do see that we can influence metabolism, which then changes autophagy and leads to a change in reprogramming. Whether that happens in the embryo, if we get our grant, we'll have a go at answering that question.
Roger, I wonder if you've looked at the effect of ageing.
We haven't directly looked at the effect of ageing. In our studies, we matched, so there was no significant difference in the age of donors between the overweight and obese, but we haven't looked at ageing yet. We'd like to. Again, there's so many questions to answer and not enough of us to do it and not enough money to go around.